Welcome back to the show. Do we have any soccer fans out there watching? Well, my guess is we do. And our next guest, Adam Elder, is the author of a new book, New Kids in the World Cup, which takes a look back at America's history with soccer and the World Cup. Adam joins me now. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you and I were just talking before the camera started rolling about soccer and growing up in the 90s and 80s. And I feel like people who are in their, late 30s, 40s and older kind of watch soccer gain popularity in the United States over time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I like to say it's all due to this team that I wrote about in 1990.
And what was so special about them?
They were the first team to reach the World Cup in 40 years. Like, the U.S. hadn't been to the World Cup since 1950. And in doing so, they enabled this, long, significant chain of events that popularized soccer in this country to where, next week millions of people will be watching the World Cup.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't easy, their road, obviously, to the World Cup. What are some of the hardships the players overcame to get there?
Oh my gosh, so many. That was like one of the most fascinating things about writing this book is, first of all, it's a really tough time to be a soccer player in America. A few people are paying attention, contracts are tiny, there weren't very many teams.
Yeah.
But then, the games that America played, in America, the stadiums would be full, but no one was rooting for the American team. So they were the away team in their own country. And then when they would go to play games to qualify for the World Cup, which you have to play against North and Central American teams, going there is always an adventure. The police run their sirens outside your windows all night.
No.
People are pulling the fire alarm all night. The practice field is hardly a field at all. And then when you get to the stadium, the fans are throwing batteries, bottles, lighters, coins, and some other stuff we probably can't mention on TV at you. And you have to play soccer, and you have to win that soccer game.
And you have to win that talk about some dirty tactics. But our boys, they did it. I'm so excited that this is such a really exciting time to talk about. What was so special about this time period in general, like looking at the world?
Yeah, well, for one thing, what I loved working in about the book was, for one thing, I think the music was great. We were talking about we're around a similar age. I love the power ballads and the rap and all the popular music. But also, this team was kind of, I almost like to think of them as Forrest Gump. They were kind of these like unlikely witnesses to history where they were traveling across the Iron Curtain just after the Cold War ended. They're one of the final teams to play East Germany. Hungary right before their first elections. They were kind of seeing history being made and joining the world's game, you could say, at a very pivotal time in the world. That's
a really good point. I see this is, if you haven't already wanted to read this, now you totally do. From your perspective, how far has soccer come in this country since we've seen this?
That's another thing that's been really fun is you look at these games, and I was fortunate to get game footage from folks at networks and whatnot, and it is so amazing how far we've come. I mean, just from the amount of fans, and the Sounders have been back since 2009, and we have all of these millions of fans online that debate the national team endlessly, for better or for worse. And but I like to say too, back then it would have been weird to see like a grown-up or a kid wearing a soccer jersey, and now you see it everywhere.
It's so true.
Little things like that.
Nobody wanted to go play soccer when we were growing up. They didn't really even have soccer teams. What are your thoughts on the upcoming World Cup?
It's going to be fun to see how the U.S. can do.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're young, which means they're unpredictable, but they're also exciting. I just enjoy the whole spectacle. I always think like the world's throwing a party and, everyone's invited.
Yeah, and there's a couple of Sounders on this year's team.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And another thing about, I should mention with this team, there were 3 guys from Washington on the team too. So the Pacific Northwest has a long, American soccer history, which is pretty cool.
Well represented.
Yes.
Did anything surprise you about soccer when you researched this book?
I guess just in what a bad place it was in the 1980s, like we discussed. No one wanted anything to do with it. There was no money in it. These players were playing literally for the future of the sport. It was really teetering.
Yeah. Just amazing.
It's come a long way.
It really is, to think of how it is and how our kids love playing soccer today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate you sharing this story and being on here this morning.
Yeah.
And by the way, Adam is actually holding an author event this coming Wednesday, November 16th at 7 p.m. at Elliott Bay Book Company. You can hear him talk more and more about this. So